All right, buckle up, everybody. We did it. We watched every single Terrifier film. All right. So we're about to deep dive into this crazy, demented clown that's called Art the Clown.
What I want you to do now is just remain calm and stay on the line with me until the police arrive.
Made on a shoestring budget of $35,000.
Which was crowdfunded from Indiegogo, by the way, which is just like unbelievable.
Crazy. This film is Damien Leone's film here, and he is a special effects artist, and he's a director, and he's a writer. Watching this film, I kind of felt like it was like a student film, that it was very low budget, but I felt like it had some type of pizzazz to it. Okay.
This movie starts at the end, and then the movie rewinds to find out what happened.
You have Art. You see him getting stuff together, gathering things together. Like he's about to get ready for some stuff. He's listening to a news thing on television about a survivor of the killer clown.
Art becomes more and more demonic as the series goes on, but this film goes through pains to show you that this is a human. This is the only film where I feel pretty comfortable saying that Art is some sort of a serial killer or psychopath who just likes to make a mess and dress like a clown.
But he's also, to me, in my mind, an entertainer. He is trying to entertain people with what he thinks is his demented mind, crazy mind, that, hey, look, this is funny. The way that he's coming off is like, look at the show that I'm putting on. I watched an interview with David Howard Thornton. He went and studied like Mr. Bean films. He studied silent films that's like Harold Lloyd and Buster Keaton and you know, Charlie Chaplin, all the stuff, all the greats that did a lot of expressive movement within their comedy, because he wanted to say, how can I take a silent actor or a silent character like that, make him entertaining, but also make him horrifying? And I think he did an amazing job.
It's like Mr. Bean with a hacksaw, okay? Like, it is the most terrifying thing. It's not like he can't speak.
Right.
It looks like he just would rather not. And it makes Art into a bizarrely fascinating character. Art the Clown was not introduced in the original Terrifier film, in Terrifier 1. He was actually introduced in a short film called The Ninth Circle, which they got a little reference to that at the end of Terrifier 3. But the movie itself is called All Hallows Eve. But Art is very different, and he's played by a different actor. So I would not consider those short films canon. You could look at Art and he would look very two-dimensional. He's just another psycho killer, right? How many, we've watched a million movies with psycho killers this year, okay? But what makes Art different is, like you said, he seems to be entertaining someone. I guess it's himself, right? And often he'll hurt someone and he'll point and laugh. And there's like a level of like childish cruelty to that it just, you just really cannot sit comfortably. Right. So I thought the actor who plays Art absolutely kills it. And thank God, because you could tell in Terrifier 1 that none of that $35,000 budget went to the acting.
Outside of David's portrayal as Art.
Right. Well, he doesn't say anything, so he's got a very different job.
Yeah.
But all the other humans who show their faces, acting is rough, okay? It's rough.
Yeah.
And on top of that, because this is a super low budget, I wonder if this is considered a micro budget film.
Right.
But because it's super low budget, the bulk of the film takes place in one spot. They never leave that creepy warehouse. The movie actually never really gives you a good reason why they even went into the warehouse, to be honest with you. Like, there's a character that's just like, yeah, we probably shouldn't go into the creepy warehouse. And so I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't. But then they go in anyway. And you're like, what?
I'm sorry to bother you. Is there a bathroom in there I could use?
This movie also, you can tell that the director and the writer, he had a day job, okay? He wrote this as a side project. He had another day job that he was working on, and you can tell. The script it feels a little distracted and super, super minimal. Like, there's virtually no story in this film. Now, there is a thin story that they managed to grow into the sequels, but the film looks great. It looks fantastic for its budget.
It's like it has this grainy type of look to it.
Yeah.
Like it has like, some type of shading.
It looks very 80s.
It looks very 80s, but it's surrounded in modern technology.
It's like a retro slasher, but made today.
Yeah. And I thought that was a great aesthetic to put on this that Mr. Leon did. My whole thing is why. The whole thing in my mind was just why? Why is Art doing this? Why is he picking out these specific people to do this to? The only thing I can come up for this first film is that he is a seriously mentally ill person that is living in his own entertainment field, and he feels like that he's on this grandeur show that he wants to put on for himself, and that show involves him mutilating, killing these specific people.
Our introduction to him is he writes his name on the wall. Now, in most of these slashers, you know, having messages written on the wall, you're like, okay, he wrote it in blood. Got it. But then we cut to it. It's not written in blood. It's written in poop. Okay. This series goes into pains to show Art pooping, to show Art peeing, to show Art eating. So you're at one point, I think he was real. And I think he was a living human right up until the end of this film.
Yeah.
And that's when things go really strange, and things, at least to me, get really fascinating. But that doesn't mean this movie is not without value. A lot of the effects here are done in camera, and they're practical. And
which is I love that.
Yes, it just looks different. Okay, there's a reason why that blood and gore is usually done in CGI. If they did another take, they had to clean up and reset everything. Very old school, and you can that texture that you can feel in the film, you can feel that. So even though this movie is just like not the kind of movie I would normally watch because it is just so cruel and ugly and gross, it's a lot of fun to watch.
And then when I think about Art, I think about his name being Arthur or RD, but also it's like a double entendre. He feels that he is making art.
In Terrifier 2, we learned that our main character, Sienna's father, is an artist. Did he somehow bring Art to life? Did he know about Art? Did he know about the demon that is within Art? I don't know, and that is just so much fun. I think what really helps this movie, other than just Art and the directing of the film, is the fact that it's the tone. And the tone of these films actually are very consistent. And at no point do these movies take themselves seriously. Right. This movie relies a lot on humor to get you to the next gore scene. I half expected Art to look into the camera and wink. At the end of Terrifier, it would seem that Art is surrounded by the police. He's like, shit, I'm about to get arrested. And he takes a gun and shoots himself in the head in order to avoid being arrested.
You're thinking that he is dead. You know, he goes into the coroner office, or they take him into the coroner office, and you think that he's dead. Well, all of a sudden the lights are flickering around in the coroner's office, and the phone's coming on, and then he breaks up from the body bag, choking the coroner to death. Terrifier 2, Art comes back and he kills the coroner. But then it cuts to a new character that we have, Sienna Shaw. Played by Lauren Lavera. I wouldn't say she's a cosplayer, but she is making the Valkyrie costume that her father drew.
She's every nerdy guy's like dream girl. Okay. She is just as nerdy as they are, but 9,000 times hotter. Okay. The movie starts with her making the raunchiest, the sexiest outfit because it's something her father drew, right? Completely ridiculous. And again, the movie talks about it. When she comes down dressed as this character, her mom's like, you like a stripper. That was really funny, right? So from what I understand, the director, he got a lot of pushback for how thin the script was in Terrifier 1.
Right.
So after the extreme success of Terrifier, he was able to commit all his time to writing and directing Terrifier 2.
Yes.
I thought Terrifier 1 looked good. Terrifier 2 looks killer. Okay. It looks great.
Yes.
That like grindhouse look is has been tripled down.
Lovely.
Backgrounds are usually stripped down to the most simplest colors, right? Like the bedroom, the walls are just red, or they're yellow, or they're white. You know, it's like, so it almost feels like a comic book panel, which totally makes sense once we're introduced to the main character, Sienna Shaw, where she sees everything like it's a comic book, like a comic book or something like that. Yeah. And so I thought that was fantastic. And the budget for this one, once again, he raised the money on Indiegogo, but he raised a lot more than $35K. He raised $250,000. He had another investor that might have added in more money. But the budget for this film is much higher, and it's all on the screen. I love it.
Right. It really is. Talking back to Sienna Shaw, the reason why she sees everything as a comic book because her father was like a comic book artist and coming up with these stories where she has like the outfit, she has this sword that can defeat all evil, but it will never harm her. It will never harm her. The sword that she has. We talked about the aesthetic of the film where it feels like it's an 80s film that's in, you know, a modern world. When I tell you, when this movie came on and I started hearing the music in this thing, boy,
it's great.
This thing
is so good. It's got like this like techno thing going on. It is so good. It reminded me a lot of like Stranger Things, like the Stranger Things intro or something like that. It almost doesn't feel fair to point out the acting in this film. It's like, well, of course, this feels like a Grindhouse film or something like that. Yeah. And so you're like, well, that kind of comes to territory. So it almost seems like it adds something to the film unintentionally.
You have Sienna, you have her brother, Jonathan. They live with their mom. Jonathan.
And mom is hilarious.
Mom, oh boy, she's hilarious. She swears like a racehorse. She swears like a sailor. Boy. I mean, tired.
Like, please, can you take care of your shit? Okay, please. That's kind of how she is.
For real.
I don't want to fight with you. I don't want to argue with you no more. Do it. Please, just do it. God damn it. Okay.
And Jonathan has this fascination with Art the Clown. Because by this time, you know, everyone knows about what happened.
It's like a local legend or something.
Yeah, he's like a local legend, and they're like, oh, I want to dress up and all this stuff. And he's reading up on all this stuff. And Sienna's kind of concerned. She's like, don't you think, you know, we should look into this?
Yeah, he's acting like a future school shooter or something like that.
Exactly.
He seems very disturbed.
But not only is Art showing up in this area, Art is going through some type of psychosis himself.
Once he reanimates, suddenly questions start exploding out of the film. Who is Art? What is Art? And it makes you think back at the first film. You're like, was this the person that could reanimate himself in the first film? I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're going to explain what Art is in this film. That's what we're going to learn. But just like you said, instead of doing that, they go into more lore. We're actually introduced to a new character who is known online anyway as the Pale Little Girl. And I gotta say, her design, killer. Like, when she shows up, she's got like this, her head turned like this, and she's like center focus, and she's like, and I'm like, oh. When we're introduced to the Pale Little Girl, there is a third person in the room. So Art is butt ass naked in the laundromat talking to someone, and we cut to the perspective of a third person in the room, and they can very clearly see Art. So we know Art is physically there, but they can't see the Pale Little Girl.
And not only doesn't give you the answers there in that specific scene with the beginning where Art is playing patty cake with the Pale Girl, you see that Sienna Shaw and Jonathan can see the Pale Girl. Where is that connection?
And I'll be honest, we never really get a straight answer. Not yet. Not as of Terrifier 3. We don't get a straight answer. We get some theories, we don't get a straight answer. And normally that would frustrate me. But because the movie throws out theories and it throws out, again, red herrings, it feels fun. I'm like, okay, I can figure this out. And it makes me want to go down like this like rabbit hole. And we see a little printout or like an old newspaper article that tells you who the Pale Little Girl was. And it seems she was at some point a victim of Art. And now she is back. Right. And she seems to be reanimated too. By what? I don't know. For what? I don't know. How come everybody can't see her? I don't know. And the mystery of it and the fact that it feels like there's an answer, I think makes the movie scarier and more interesting.
Sienna has these dream states that she goes into And that's how she actually kind of first met Art, is in her dream state. I see Damien playing with kind of like the Freddy Krueger Dream World, Dream Warriors, that third film, which is one of my favorite ones that was made. She can connect with him in her mind, but I'm still thinking in my mind of why is this happening specifically to her? And I'm thinking, which is what
we're not even sure if she can really connect. I'm not sure. We don't get any straight answers. But like, was that a dream or was that actually Art in the clown cafe in her mind?
I feel like it's all connecting back to her father. And her brother Jonathan is at school. He goes to the bathroom and then he sees Art and the pale-faced girl playing with some disgusting raccoon that was found outside. So now he can see it. So it's all type of stuff that's going on. And I'm like, I still have no why. No why.
Right. But here's my theory on the pale little girl. I am not sure if she can do anything. I think she is some sort of a demon. This is my personal theory now. She would appear to be some sort of a demon that is using the image of Art's first victim or one of Art's earliest victims to try and communicate with Art.
Yes.
Because we actually never see her kill anybody, but she seems to be instigating the kills for Art. She seems to want Art to kill certain people, or she seems to want to watch and play around in like the blood and the gore or the dead bodies. But it would seem she herself can't or doesn't do any killing. So maybe this demon needs some sort of like a host or something like that. Somehow all of this ties back to Sienna Shaw's father, who somehow knew about Art the Clown, or at least know about the demon within Art. And he seems to know how to defeat Art. Why? I don't know. Apparently he had some mental health struggles and he ultimately committed suicide. Whether or not that was on purpose or not, I don't know, but it was in a car crash. So was he haunted by this demon that I'm assuming is inside Art the Clown?
Possibly.
Or what? Could he see to like some other world? In Terrifier 3, we see Sienna somehow can see into another universe where they're making like the sword and they're making the outfit. Yeah. So is this something that her father could do? I don't know, because the movie doesn't really give you any straight answers on anything. At some point, I feel like I would normally get really frustrated. I'd be like, all right, you got to pull the trigger somewhere now.
Sienna and Jonathan's mother got her head blown smooth off.
But see, I thought she got lucky though. I was like, oh,
she was the quickest. She was the quickest.
I mean, when Art started shoving mashed potatoes into the hole in her head, that's unfortunate. But beyond that, I was like, well, shit.
That's unfortunate.
And Art is still kept at a distance. But the little that we do know is we don't want to know it. Like, does Michael Myers poop? I don't know. But Art does. Okay. I know that about Art, right? Does Michael Myers enjoy what he's doing? I don't know. But I know that about Art. Yes. And it makes him a very interesting and distinct character.
By the end of the film, Sienna's wearing the outfit because she went to a party with this on. And she's called to the Terrifier, which is a ride that happens that's over at like this carnival.
And just to set the stage, this is a woman wearing a superhero outfit. So all of a sudden, there are all these like fantastical elements introduced and doubled down on in the film.
Right. And then her friends are with her. Her friends are with her, and her they're gonna be food for the slaughter. It's one of the most another disturbing scene there where this guy has a shirt on that says "just a tip."
Art said, okay.
Is that Art said, okay?
It feels like a reference to the first film where they cut that girl in half, starting at her crotch.
Exactly. And I think Damien Leone, he referenced that people think because of the things that happened in the first film that he hates women. But he's like, he said, I'm putting in this film, especially the shower scene in the third film. He's an equal opportunity up in here. He was raised by women.
Our director and the writer is a guy, and he's writing for mostly women, and you can tell the writing is off, right? The writing, especially in that first movie, the writing feels really off. Like he's never spoken to a woman in his life.
Right. By the end of this film, there's a battle that happens here, and when
an epic battle between good and evil,
an epic battle between good and evil, and of course, good is Sienna, and of course, the evil is Art. Art's head is chopped off. This film came out in 2021, and it gained even more of a following.
Terrifier 1 is all about Art the Clown. Terrifier 2 is about Sienna Shaw. When I understand the director had this idea of an angel-winged warrior kicking around his head forever, and he thought this would be a great time to make Art the symbol of all evil and the angel-winged warrior as Sienna as like the symbol of all good. The fantastical elements is really like a sideshow. And that was really interesting, and a really interesting way to approach these characters.
You think that she dies, but we remember that with this sword, she cannot be harmed, and the sword kills anything that's evil because she is good. And then she's healed, and she has like this freaking superpower stuff, and she comes out of there. Right. And then that's when the epic fight of fighting Art happens, because at this time, Art is chewing on her little brother's foot.
Right.
Sorry, that's funny to say.
Yeah. The Cat of Nine Tails is a torture device, but it's a torture device mostly associated with Jesus. And of course, when she gets stabbed in the same spot that Jesus was stabbed when he was crucified. So I thought that was really interesting, like symbol, like really heady stuff going on here.
Right.
And again, this movie is so silly and so, I hate to say it, I'm saying it in the nicest way possible, stupid, that it runs the risk of all that stuff being offensive. And you're just like, what is that?
Right.
What's going on with that?
Yeah.
But all the Jesus and angel stuff becomes really important in Terrifier 3.
Yes, it does. Terrifier 3 takes place during Christmas.
Right.
Okay.
And there's a time jump, a huge time jump, a 5-year time jump.
5 years. Okay. Within this 5 years, Sienna is in a mental rehabilitation center. She is there to try to get better. Her brother is like in college now, and he's a person that's trying to not remember what happened. But he has a roommate, and his roommate's girlfriend wants to interview him for his podcast and stuff like that. He's like, no.
Right. This girl is a dark reflection of him. Where he was really fascinated with Art the Clown as a kid, this girl is also really fascinated with Art the Clown. The movie has this subtext about what do you do after you experience something traumatic. There is literally no one on Earth who's coming to see Terrifier 3 hoping to see character development, okay?
Art the Clown is dressed up as Santa Claus, and he's at this family's house. And this film shows you that there is a line that Damien Leone will cross, and then there's a line that he will not cross at the same time.
Or he's not allowed to cross. I'm not sure.
Yeah, or not allowed to cross.
They ramped up the humor, but just like you said, this is the first film where it feels like they're starting to pull punches. To my knowledge, I don't remember them ever cutting away from a kill in Terrifier 1 and 2. 2 of the kills were children. Yes. And the camera cuts away.
Yeah, but then it shows it afterwards. It shows the aftermath of it. There needs to be a conduit for the demon to be able to survive and come back. And why?
Sort of a host.
For like a host. And that is pointing to that Vicky is the host that the demon is in now that brought Art back.
And we actually see the father. And I thought this was really interesting because online, there were lots of theories as to who Art is. And the most popular theory is that Art is Sienna Shaw's father. And this movie makes it explicit that Art is not Sienna Shaw's father. I think this is, unfortunately, the weakest of the three. I hate to say that because I still enjoyed this film. There are literally scenes missing. There is a moment where we learn that Sienna wants to go back to the Terrifier ride, to the carnival, to get her sword, because she left it there at the end of Terrifier 2. But then the next scene, She just has a sword.
She just has a sword packed up in the present, and her hands are dirty. And I had to guess. I was like, wait, why the heck is her hands dirty? Wait, she had to dig through the rubble to get because I had to guess that instead of them showing that.
The little boy who was a main character in Terrifier 2 gets killed off screen to the point where I wasn't sure if he was really killed. Sienna's uncle was also killed off screen.
Yeah.
To the point where when we saw his body, I didn't even know who that was. I was like, who is that?
Who is that? Because the first two, they showed every single death.
Everything in super explicit detail. But this time they didn't. This movie also ends on kind of a cliffhanger. It doesn't end nice and neat. And Art, at the end of the film, does something he's never done. He ran away. And I'm like, what? It's the first one that did not feel comfortable. It did not feel complete, and I felt frustrated at the end.
Like this hole opens up in the bottom of the floor that was kind of like remembrance of when Sienna fell down the other hole. But
in Terrifier 2.
Terrifier 2, and Gabby somehow, throughout the struggle and the fight, she gets knocked down there because the floor comes from underneath her. And
it looks like there's nothing down there. It looks supernatural. It looks like maybe it's like a hole to hell.
Vicky is dead because her head is cut off. Does that mean that you lost your conduit in that and then you gotta gain your power back?
They show early on that the pale little girl has now, or whatever demon was controlling or inside the pale little girl or whatever, it's now inside of Victoria. And we know this because of the eye glow. The little girl had these glowing yellow eyes, and now Victoria has these glowing yellow eyes.
He straight up waits at a bus stop, gets on the bus, and then the last shot of him is smiling at a lady and honking the horn. So
a lady reading a book called The Ninth Circle.
The Ninth Circle, yeah. Them getting a bigger budget allowed them to get people that worked on Passion of the Christ, with special effects. So they gained a lot, from this.
Speaking of Passion of the Christ, Sienna literally wears a crown of thorns.
So there's a lot of biblical references in this,
Lots of them. And they doubled down on it, right?
Yeah.
The first movie, people complained that it felt offensive because it felt very anti-woman, which I could feel that. That was totally there. But it felt unintentional. This one feels like he's going out of his way to piss people off. I hope things get wrapped up neatly. I wouldn't mind a fifth one, but I want to believe that there is a map that's going somewhere, that we're not just wandering around the dark blindly.
He said he has a map. They
always say that, though.
He said he has the drawing board. Everything's drawn out and stuff.
They said that about Star Wars too, and clearly they didn't have a map for that, right? So I hope they've got a plan, and at the moment I can close my eyes and pretend that they do. But this is the first time that it feels like they've got no plan and that we are just wandering around the dark. And I guess we're going to learn more about that in the future, but that makes this movie, I have to rate it so much harsher than the others. I hope this next Terrifier film takes place in hell. There is literally a door to hell in Sienna's uncle's house right now. And
we saw the portal
sword
and everything.
Yeah, a portal to hell. And the sword is down there, and we've seen hints
we gotta
that
go
maybe
get
some
Gabby.
angels or demons or something like that is making a new uniform for Sienna. So I'm hoping we go all the way deep into the fantastical elements. Just go ahead, pull that trigger, go all the way in. I also hope, bizarrely, they never give us super straight answers on who is Art the Clown. Now, I think we could learn about the demon or whatever is inside of Art.
Right.
But as for human Art, I don't think we should humanize human Art.
That's gone now.
But I think Art is possessed by some sort of a demon.
Yes.
Because his look changes throughout the film.
Yes, it does.
And throughout the series. Art's look becomes more and more extreme. He gets paler and paler. The prosthetics on his face become more pronounced and more demon-like to the point where in Terrifier 3, Art's ears are gone. He doesn't seem to have any ears. Like, we see Art butt-ass naked in the first film, and he looks human except for paint on his face, right? So the anamorphic camera, that kind of like digitally noisy pass that's over the film where it makes it look like an old school image. The cool synth music, it gives this series a vibe.
It does.
And that is unexpected and such a pleasant surprise.
Anytime I got to pick up my phone at the end credits and be like, who is this? And I'm like, Dream Kid. heard of Dream Kid. This is dope. You know, it's so fun. It's so fun.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what do you feel about the Terrifier series? Have you seen all 3? Have you seen 1, 2, or 3? Let us know in the comments down below.
And what are your theories on what or who Art is?
Yes, please talk to us about that. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. We really do appreciate you guys. Help us get over the 1,000 subscriber mark. All right. If you're watching this, we see you in the analytics that you're not clicked and subscribed. Hit that right down in the bottom. All right. Hit that subscribe button. Art the Clown is behind you and he's watching you. He wants you to do it. And if you did like this video right here, please do us a favor and hit that thumbs up. All right. Or you can hit that thumbs down, whichever you choose. It is your opinion, but just remember one thing, it is mostly wrong. We'll see you in another video. I want to see a battle between Pennywise and Art. Who do you think will win?
Art? What are you kidding me?